Hi, I'm Janet. After years of trying to figure out the film industry, making some gains, only to see them dwindling away, I finally got my shit together and I made $85,000 my first year in the film industry in Los Angeles. Creating a career in film does not need to be a struggle. You can start in your city. I want to teach you my process and teach you how to do it. You'll see that you really can live that extraordinary film lifestyle that only the film industry can provide. Let's go. Why is it that we know that we want to work in the film industry? We want to become actors and filmmakers and writers, but we don't have the motivation. We are unmotivated to make that happen. What is going on? So when you ask yourself why you're having a hard time motivating yourself, why is that happening? Well, what you're going to find are some thoughts. It's going to be some thinking that you're doing that looks kind of like this. Well, it's probably not going to work anyway. Or I'm going to try and ultimately it's probably not going to happen. Or it's going to take forever to get me to the levels that I want to get to. Or people like me, I don't see them getting roles. Or I can't find the roles. I can't get experience. I can't get people to give me a shot. All of those kind of thoughts. Those thoughts make us feel fearful. They make us have self-doubt. They make us feel discouraged. And we're trying to get into the film industry and do the most important thing in our life, mostly feeling these negative emotions. So if you do this self-coaching model that I've been teaching you, you might recognize that you're having some of these thoughts. Because most of the time, we just think that that's the way it is. But when you actually look at why you're having a hard time motivating yourself, you start digging for it and you start writing down some of these answers, you're going to come up with these kind of thoughts. And the great thing about the self-coaching model that I've been teaching you guys is that you can see these thoughts as separate from you. You can see these thoughts instead of, this is the way it is. If that's the way that it is, then there's nothing you can do. You are believing that it's difficult to get in the film industry. You're believing that you're going to try and it's probably not going to work anyway. And that's why you're feeling unmotivated. You also have the option to think, it's possible I can do this. I have a lot of potential. I love learning. The film industry is where I belong. I love to grow. We also have the option to have all of those thoughts. The thinking that you're producing is what is creating your results in your life. So many of us are trying to motivate ourselves by changing our circumstance. That's what we do. Okay, what I mean by that is we're like, okay, I'm just going to take this course and then that's going to motivate me and then I'll feel different and something's going to happen. Or I'm going to go to film school and spend a bunch of money and then I'm going to be motivated because I've spent all that money and I got the training and that's when I'm going to be like, I will be on fire. A lot of people spend like a lot of money, like $10,000. And then they're like, well, if I spend that money, then I'm going to have to do it. And then I'll be motivated. So these are all examples of trying to change how you feel by changing your circumstance. But that never works. Another example of this is where you might be like, okay, I'm going to feel awesome, excited, motivated when I move to Los Angeles. And then you move to Los Angeles and you're like, I still feel lonely. Or I'm going to feel so happy when I get into a relationship. That's what I need. Then you get into a relationship and you're like, I'm not happy. So it's never changing its circumstance. We think, man, my job makes me so unhappy. If I just change my job, then I'll be happy. So we try to change the circumstance of the job in order to feel happy. Here's the problem with that. Trying to change how you feel by changing your circumstance, change the job, change the city, change the person that you're with, it never works. Because what you're still left with is how you're thinking. And it's how you're thinking that's producing how you're feeling. So you don't change how you feel by changing the circumstance. You change how you're thinking about it, and that changes how you feel. Because it's still the same us. We've still got our same patterns. If we feel lonely in one city, we're going to feel lonely in another city. If we have self-doubt right now in our job, we're going to have self-doubt in a different job. we want these big goals in the film industry, but when we're not motivated, the reason is because of our thinking. We're mostly having thoughts that are negative thoughts that are causing us to be not motivated. Funny thing, right? But I believe that us human beings are naturally motivated. We are naturally motivated to want to learn, right? We want to fulfill our desires. We really do want to accomplish great things in our lives. So we naturally do have motivation. But what happens is when we think of the life that we want, when we think of our goals, what comes up is all of this self-doubt and all of this frustration and all of this fear. And that makes the motivation go away. So it's like we picture the goal that we want, and then we're like, but how are we going to do this? And we come up with all of these thoughts that demotivate us, and then the motivation goes away. What we're doing is we're actually acknowledging and believing our self-doubt. And that's what makes it very difficult to move forward. But here is the truth. Motivation is something that you generate with your mind. It's not something that comes over you. You actually create it with your mind. So if you want to know why you're not motivated, look at your mind, look at your thoughts, look at what you're thinking that's causing you to not be motivated. And that will show you why you are not motivated. So we think about a goal, $100,000 in the film industry. And what comes up right away is, I don't know how to do that. I don't have the skills to do that. I don't have any connections to do that. All of the negative thoughts. And we realize how far away we are. Hey, how can I do that? I'm not even making $5,000 in the film industry. But our thoughts create our feelings. And when we feel disappointed and when we feel self-doubt, we don't want to do anything. So instead of believing all of these thoughts that immediately come up when we think about the big goal, what we want to do is we want to notice these negative thoughts, all the thoughts that come up, all of the problems that come up, and then we want to do the work on these thoughts to go to the next level. Like we want to acknowledge these thoughts, that they're coming up and our brain is producing them. And then we want to solve for each of these thoughts. And when you start doing that in your mind, taking the negative thoughts and solving for each and every one of them, you just start moving forward. You're basically telling yourself a different story, a story that makes you move forward, that motivates you, that tells you that you can do this. Very exciting. So you have a place where you are right now, and then you have a goal that you want to get to. So just take a money example, because money is very concrete, and money is an indication of how much value that you're creating out there. If you're making $100,000 in the film industry, you have created $100,000 of value in the film industry. It's not like, oh, I got to get somebody to pay me that. No, you are going to create value, and they're going to want to pay you that. So you've got where you are today with that goal, and you've got the $100,000 that you are making in the film industry. Then you have all of these action steps that need to happen to get you to that goal of $100,000 in the film industry. All along that path is the action steps. But even more importantly than all of these action steps that you're going to be taking is all of the belief systems. All of the thoughts that you have in your mind that are going to create all of these action steps. And they're going to determine how you're going to take these action steps, the belief systems. So belief systems are just a bunch of thoughts that you have all the time. And then you have the thoughts so many times that they become a belief or a belief system. And all of these thoughts make up your identity. Like, this is what's possible for me. What's possible for you is what you believe. That's your belief system. So in between where you are right now and where you want to go is just a bunch of thoughts. And if you did not have all these negative thoughts, you would already be there. So when we think about this goal, this $100,000 that we want to make in the industry, what comes up is a bunch of negative thoughts. And to us, it feels like that's all problems. And we're like, it shouldn't be like that. It should be easier. But actually, think about it. When you have a big goal, like $100,000 or $1 million, Really, should it really be easy? Should it really all be like rainbows and daisies as you go after this goal? No, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to think that it's going to be easy and that we're supposed to feel amazing while we're creating this goal. So maybe we're supposed to feel some frustration, some self-doubt, some fear. We're supposed to feel it. It doesn't mean that anything's gone wrong. That's what is going to come along this way as we're doing all these new things that we haven't done before, as we're creating new belief systems that haven't been there before. So now the primitive brain thinks that something has gone wrong and it wants to stay safe. But you've also got the thinking brain that tells yourself, you know what? It's not going to be all rainbows and daisies. And as you're going towards this goal that you want to have, you're going to probably feel some frustration. You're going to feel some self-doubt. I know why you're feeling disappointment, because you're thinking that it's going to take you too long. I know why you're feeling self-doubt, because you're thinking that other people are better than you. That's okay. You have that thought. So does probably millions of other actors and filmmakers out there. That's okay. I've got your back. So what you're going to think is you're going to counter that thought. You're going to counter that thought like, I'm getting in too late, with I'm getting in right on time. This is so exciting. You're going to counter the thought that I don't have enough experience, with I've got potential. Now notice, when you think I don't have enough experience, that thought gives you despair. Nothing's gone wrong. It's just because you thought that thought. But when you think I've got potential, you feel excited. You're like, oh yeah. There's something I can do out there in the world. There's so much possibility now. Where are you doing most of your living? In despair and having thoughts that go with despair, or in possibility and having the thoughts that go with like, this is possible, this is exciting, this is my direction, this is what I want to create in my life. So when I was getting into the business, I was thinking a lot of negative thoughts. And these thoughts would come up in my mind and I would just push them down. So how I was when I got in the business is something I don't want you to do. Now let me tell you what I was doing. I was having thoughts like, people don't really want to let me in. I'm not qualified. The film industry is really hard and you've got to push your way in. Nobody's going to keep me out of this business. All these thoughts are kind of negative. They really presuppose that it's hard and that it's cutthroat. That's because my belief system was that it was. And those thoughts would make me feel a lot of frustration, kind of pissed off feeling. And that's how I was trying to get in the film industry. I had this like hustle energy where I'm taking action, but at the same time being a little bit pissed off and trying to convince people and trying to force an outcome, thinking it's hard the whole time. I had no awareness of my thinking that it was producing that kind of feeling out there. And I had no idea that there was any other way that I could be. It was kind of like, well, this is what it is. But actually, no, this is what I'm thinking about the way that it is. So I'm creating that situation. And it can really make you spin. It really did make me spin. And it would make me have kind of funky relationships with people because I'm thinking that they're against me and I'm thinking that I've got to push my way in. And they're like, what the fuck? You know, why is this person so aggressive? Or why is this person so desperate? So this hustle energy, I think a lot of people can feel familiar with this because a lot of people think that they've got to hustle and they're just believing thoughts that are making them feel this way. Because if you believe the story that it's hard, that people don't want to help you, then you're going to push your way in. And it's not going to be the best for the film industry. And it's not going to feel the best for you either. This is the benefit of being able to look at what you want to create, that goal, and write down all of the thoughts that you're having around it. And you're going to be able to see that you're having a lot of thoughts that are negative, that are hustle energy, that believe that you can't, that believe that people don't want you in. You're going to have thoughts about yourself. You're going to have thoughts about the world. You're going to have thoughts about the process to get into the film industry. And when you write them down, now you can work with them. You can see that, oh my gosh, this is what I'm bringing in with me as I'm trying to get in the film industry. Many of these thoughts, they're like often in our minds, they're framed like a question. Like, well, I have this 100K goal in the film industry, but am I really going to be able to do that? Am I going to be able to get people to hire me? What if I'm not able to do this? So they usually appear to us like questions. And these questions just make it like this big, huge thing in our minds, and then we don't answer them. So therefore, the questions kind of like lay there as being like these big obstacles. If you're thinking, what if I'm not able to do this? Answer that question, and you will find the thought that is keeping you from getting into the business. What if I'm not able to do this? Answer that. So we're going to take the thought, what if I'm not able to do this? Okay, and I'm going to answer it. And what that's going to do, it's going to produce a bunch of thoughts that I'm really scared about. Like, well, I'm going to fail at my dream. Or it's the one thing I want in my life and I'm going to find out I'm not good enough. I'm going to screw up and nobody's going to hire me. Okay, those are thoughts that are there that I've pushed down, but they're there in the unconscious and they're actually running the show and making me feel unmotivated. So now you have access to them. These are all the thoughts that I need to work on one by one. So let's just take one. I'm not going to be good enough. Now, when you think that thought, it just feels like it's probably true. Like it's an observation. I'm really concerned that I'm not going to be good enough. And it seems like you're just reporting the facts, but you're not reporting the facts. You're actually creating a result from that thought. So what does it even mean that you won't be good enough? What is good enough? Who decides what's good enough? Is working hard good enough? Do you work hard? You probably do. Is caring very much at your job, is that good enough? Is wanting to do a good job, does that make a difference to you being good enough? You know, you can ask yourself, like, won't I be learning my job more and more as I get involved? And I'll get good enough? I can learn, right? Yes, I can. Can I watch other people do the job and become better? Yes, I can. Do I really want to throw away my future because I'm afraid that I won't be good enough? I can ask myself, is it useful to even think about this, whether I'm good enough? So for actors, a lot of us are worried about whether we're good enough, but have you considered that most people in that audition room that are watching you and trying to decide which actor to go with, they don't even know what they want until they see it. So what purpose, how useful is it to think, I'm not sure if I'm good enough? You actually fail before you've even given yourself a chance. You're failing ahead of time. So what we've just done there is we've done work on that negative thought. We kind of tore it apart. I'm not sure if I'm good enough. We just tore that apart. Hey, what is good enough anyway? And we presented some different ways of thinking around that thought that seemed like it was just the truth. So for every problem that your brain presents to you, ask your brain to solve it. So I'm not sure if I'm good enough. Solve it. I can learn. There are other people that have started where I'm at and they made it. I'm not sure I'm good enough. What does that even mean, good enough? I'm a hard worker. I'm a kind person. Just generate thoughts that go contrary to that thought that is keeping you unmotivated, that's giving you self-doubt. So the next step, after writing down all the thoughts, it's called doing a thought download around what's holding you back, is now solving for each of those thoughts. And that is the work. So instead of being consumed by all of these thoughts of how difficult it is to make in the film industry and believing all of those thoughts, what you're doing is you're taking each thought and you're solving for it. What's happening is that your mind is shifting from fear and frustration to there's a solution. You're using the thinking part of your brain to generate the solution instead of the primitive brain just spinning in, this is difficult, I don't know if I'm good enough, and believing all of that stuff. You're using your thinking brain to, okay, let me just provide you a solution. Now, if you're thinking a lot of thoughts like, I don't know, Just know that I don't know is one of the biggest dream killers in your entire life. I don't know how to do it. I don't know where to start. That keeps your brain stuck in the same place, not finding any solutions. So here's what's super exciting. When you're coming against these negative thoughts and then answering them with different thoughts that are solutions, you're actually changing your belief system. You're really changing what you believe because you keep throwing into your mind all of these solutions, these solution-sourced thinking. And the belief systems start to change. What's possible starts to change. Now, at first, it can be like a little bit uncomfortable because you haven't done this before, but it's also going to feel very exciting because you're actually going to be changing as a person. And you're going to be expanding your capacity of what you can do because simply just by using your thinking brain to keep putting yourself into a new place every time. So if I think I want to work in the film industry and my brain immediately goes to, but you don't have the experience, everything that's wrong, you're going to mess up, people aren't going to like you, then I'm going to lose all my motivation. But when I recognize that it's a thought that my brain produced, all of those things, but when I recognize that I don't have experience or that I'm going to mess up is just a thought that my brain produced immediately, and I can counter that thought with, yeah, you don't have experience yet, but you're a hard worker. Yes, you can learn. Then I'm going to feel motivated right away, and I'm going to start taking actions from there, and those actions are going to move me forward. One thing to look at is why do you want to work in the film industry? Having a compelling reason why will help you slice through all of that doubt that your brain keeps producing. Your compelling reason could be that you just want to grow. You don't want to be in this place anymore. You're tired of all the negative spinning in your mind. You just want to grow. That's a compelling reason. Maybe you just want to be a person that can slice through doubt and achieve some amazing stuff in your life. Same kind of thing. You just want to grow. What I want to offer you is that learning how to work with your mind and all of the challenges that your mind is going to constantly be presenting to you on the way to this goal, just working on your mind, that is reason enough. I like to look at it like this. Now I've got a goal, right? But I don't have to go after it. That's my choice to go after it. That's my privilege to go after that goal. I don't have to do any of it, but I want to. I'm choosing to. All of the challenging work that you do in order to hone your skills, because I'm choosing to. All of that work in understanding my craft, feeling all these emotions, feeling all that uncertainty, and working on the business side of acting, of filmmaking. All of that is what makes it worth it. So what we're doing is we're taking a big goal, $100,000 goal, and then what immediately comes up is all the self-doubt, all of those negative thoughts that come up. And we're seeing them and we're writing them down. And then we're using our thinking brain to solve for each one of these thoughts. So instead of believing all these thoughts and being demotivated, what we're doing is we're solving for each one of these self-doubt thoughts because you choose to, because it's your privilege to, because you want to grow. And what's going to happen is you're going to become aware of thoughts that come in your mind as you build this amazing career. Instead of just spinning in it and being in it, and reacting to these thoughts, you're going to see that many of these are not real. Like, it's not true that I'm not good enough. What's good enough? It's not true that the film industry is hard. What's hard? And you're going to keep countering these negative thoughts with thoughts that move you forward. Thoughts that you want to produce, that give you the life that you want. When you're not aware of the thoughts and your brain just reacts to the thoughts, you're going to feel scared. You're going to feel unmotivated. And you have a good reason to. That's because your primitive brain is actually doing its job. So before, when you thought of this life that you wanted, your brain would be just filled with all of these thoughts about how difficult it is and how it probably won't happen, and you were believing that. But now you can counter these thoughts with solution thoughts that give you motivation. And then you'll be taking action out there in the world through feeling motivation. Feeling motivation, feeling commitment is how you're going to produce everything. That's much better than taking an action through feeling fear. The result is going to be completely different when you're feeling motivation. So get really good at producing thoughts that create motivation and commitment, and you will be going towards your career so much faster. And you'll be living in a life that you really want to live in, that tells you and produces even more new thoughts about how this is possible, how you have potential, how this is what you're meant to be doing with your life. And it will impact your conversations with people. It'll impact your auditions. It'll impact all of the new thoughts that you have that you choose to do to build this career. You'll become a different person, and you will have the skills to be on a film set and be solving and be solution-minded all the time. And that is what they want to hire on film sets. And that is how you want to feel anyway. That's how you want to be anyway. That's how you want to evolve. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for listening today. And if you have a moment, could you please leave me a review? I would love that. And make sure you head over to friendsandfilm.com/join and sign up for my free mini course on what you need to know to find opportunities and start making film and acting work come to you. I'll see you next week.